Name. You probably just got that. Did you hear that notice? It is recorded.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. Okay, I'll just start with our initial thing here. Welcome to this new class that I'm calling Art Investigations. This week, we're going to be focusing on composition. We'll always focus on composition because it's so important. But I want to give us a little start here. An introduction as to my brain, my world, and how I think about things. And maybe hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully it's part of the reason that you're taking this class.
Oh,
But
yes,
I'm
Royce,
always
we're very
enchanted by how
interested in.
things work. I've always have been. What's that? Put me in a spotlight. Thank you. Yeah. It's been a while since I've done this, so let's see here. There we go. What Okay, so am I spotlighted for everybody, even if
Yes, for
you're
me.
on
Yes,
gallery view?
yes,
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
that's good to know. Sorry about that little wrinkle. Anyway, as I said, I love the way to figure out the way things work. I've always been enchanted how things were manufactured, how they work, from cars to toasters, and as a young person, I would uh, take them apart to see how they worked and put them back together again. And with art, it's very much the same way for me. That's a way that I learn. I learn by taking things apart with my hands and putting them back together. And so, as an artist, I really love learning new materials, new techniques, and things. And so, um, as I mentioned before, everybody kind of got on here when Agnes and I were talking. In the last little while, I've been working with clay. I've been doing printmaking for a couple of years, as well as painting and drawing. And just even really recently started doing embroidery to kind of embroider some of my drawings. And all of these things have taken some curious investigation for me and experimentation. And I really like that. And so when I look at art and I'm trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, why I like it or why I don't, I always find that deconstruction is the easiest way for me to do it. And in order to move forward, I feel we do need to look and see what came before. And we can, if we don't learn from history, we will repeat it. If we don't learn from our mistakes, we will tend to repeat them. And so, um, and I kind of think of history. History is typically recorded and written by the conquerors, the winners, and the ones that don't usually become slaves, and we don't really hear their stories so much. And so, the same thing, kind of in art, like probably the best art for whatever reason, if mostly, not all, but is what is remembered. And so we're lucky it's already kind of curated it for the most part. The famous artwork that was created long ago is saved somewhere for us to see now. And so we can look at this and luckily it's pretty good stuff. Um, and so as we look at these great paintings, we might ask why. Why are they great? What makes them great? What sets them apart? And so I like to take them apart and see what there is to see. There are so many ways to investigate art. In our case, uh, for us, it's going to be painting for this class. So we can look and analyze in many different ways. One of them, we can look at the brush strokes and see the layers of paint. We can look at the color and try and understand what pigments were being used and why, or what type of paint or what they were painting on, whether it's a panel or a canvas or a wall or a vase. All of these things play into it, and as we're investigating, it's important to understand them and ask those sort of questions. And then uh, and then we may want to we may want to go a step further as we're entranced by a piece of work or the artist. We might want to understand something more about their history, their inspirations, and their environments that gave them what they have. And so we look at that sometimes or not, but and we'll look at a little bit of all of these things. And sometimes that just might be enough, but then there's those moments where we come across a painting that we just don't understand. And we understand that it's considered to be a great piece, but we might not know just why. Why it was. Maybe it is the color, maybe it's not. Uh, it's not our favorite subject matter, or we feel like it's clumsy in some way, or the drawing seems off, and so we kind of discount it. But everybody says it's so great. Let's try and figure out what makes it so. And so, um, what do I this? Oh, here's an example. So, like, is it what makes it great? Is it like the Mona Lisa? And I'm not saying the Mona Lisa is not great, but when we think about the reason the Mona Lisa is great, it's mostly famous. Oh, here's Steve. It's mostly famous because in 1911 it was stolen and it was missing for 2 years. It was stolen from the most important and famous museum in the world, the Louvre in Paris. And so before that, nobody really knew about the Mona Lisa, but once the reproductions, little etchings of it were reproduced in almost every newspaper in the world, suddenly everybody knew the story of the painting that was stolen from the famous museum. And then when it was returned, there was this real resurgence and interest in it. And so now we have the Mona Lisa, which is considered the most famous painting in the world, and it's adored by everyone and is behind bulletproof glass. And it's all very interesting, although maybe is it the greatest painting in the world? I don't know, but it's certainly famous. So that's one reason maybe we appreciate that painting. Aside from who it was painted by, that also adds a bit of interest. But a lot of times we need to peel back a few more layers and see a little bit more and dissect it further and see what kind of structure and what it was built on. And so, as I mentioned, we're going to look at Titian, and we're going to start with him today. And not that he was the first or the very beginning, uh, but as Julie Andrews said, and aptly saying, it's a very good place to start. The beginning, that is, not Titian, but one of these, the first bit is good it's a good place to start. And so in my own practice, I find that I need to keep grounding myself in fundamentals and reminding myself that they're important. As artists that have regular practice, each of us, sometimes we kind of click into autopilot and it's just our work maybe could even become mindless as to how we start and how we progress. And then when sometimes we hit a snag and we wonder why this one wasn't so successful. And so I feel the need to reconnect to fundamentals regularly. Um, Although, when we think about talking about fundamentals, it conjures up tedium and boredom. And then it might be kind of just a bunch of dumb memorization or kid stuff or student grade stuff, right? But as makers, we have grand ideas and we want to say things and we want to say what we have to say. We want to communicate it. And I'm not communicating that very well, but a comedian will tell you that how you say it is maybe more important than what it is that you're saying. More important than the joke is how you say it. And as artists, what we present and how we present it is maybe on the same level as to what we're presenting. If we choose to paint a vase of flowers, or a grandson or a grandchild, uh, might not make as much difference as how we say it. And so, Lucy, as you're talking about how you're working through drawings to figure out what style you want to do that in. That's kind of exactly what I'm getting at. All right. And so, in that, is there right and wrong in art? I don't know, but I do think that we are each concerned about, I use the term beauty, and beauty probably encompasses how well an idea is communicated. And so I really believe that there's a science to beauty. And as we are looking at visual art in this class, I think there's a pretty scientific way of considering a lot of times what is art. As humans, we want some sort of order and structure. It keeps us comfortable and it appeals to us. It appeals to something inside of that primordial prehistoric brain that we have. And as well as we tend to like shiny, sparkly, colorful things. Those things attract us too. So in many ways, we're not that different from fish. Uh, but I think we can dissect this. Fish don't dissect things very well, but we can do that. And as we look into the science of beauty, we will, I think, get better. And I'm not talking about the beauty that our societal environment tells us is beautiful. Um, I'm going back to how how our story is told and how we need to tell it. Classical beauty in what we consider beautiful, if we look at People magazine, if there is still People magazine, or may not be the best way to tell the story that we want to tell. So, as I'm going through my notes here, I think I'm doing pretty well. Okay. Okay, but we're getting closer to Titian. Don't worry. Not to worry. Um, he was born between 1488 and 1490. And this is a great example of not knowing very much about him. As we look at these old painters, like Renaissance painters, there's a lot of like sketchy details about them, which is okay. All we have to is their work to look at. But he was born in the period of time that we call the Renaissance. And I want to take 1 second to talk about that. We've all heard of it, where the Renaissance was and is an important part of art history. But the reality was that it was also super important in other parts of life. And when you look both at its development in art and in the rest of the time, the development of science and technology was also amazing. So you see the obvious connection when you look at the whole thing, the connection between art and the importance of art and um, the advancements in science and technology. The Renaissance was in the 14th to the 16th century. There were profound technological advances, such as the printing press with movable type. That was pretty cool. Linear perspective really became developed and understood a lot more in the Renaissance. When you look at Da Vinci's sketchbooks, you see again that connection between art, science, and technology. And I really believe that it's the curiosity of artists that was and is the driving force between many advances. Other advances and things that they were developed were the double shell dome, which made cathedrals more interesting. And in fact, we continue to use that today in many ways. I mean, our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. isn't exactly new building, but that same technology was used there. Bastion, Bastion fortresses, which I won't go into now because I think it's super interesting, but I'm not going to go into it. But that was just one of those things that was developed because to combat the development of other things in the Renaissance, like muskets and cannons and that sort of thing. So let's get to now that we understand that we are in this time of enlightenment and great advances, we're going to start looking at Titian now that we know where he was and born in, like I say, his dates are a little sketchy at the beginning because he wasn't famous then. And we don't know much about his family other than his parents' names. His father was a notary and was connected in and around Venice, Italy, where he was from. And the other thing there's several things that we can learn from Titian, but one of the things that's super fortunate is that he lived a long time. He died in 1576, so that made him about 85 years old, give or take, depending on when he was born. And like most artists that live that long, there's many different eras that we can look at. We look at Picasso and Matisse and other artists that had a long life, and we can kind of divide their work up into these different periods, and we can see the arc of um, their progress. And we'll be able to see that in Titian, and we do see that. And we will look at that throughout other classes here of different artists. It'll be a fun adventure. Um, I've chosen Titian to look at first because I feel when I look at his work, I think of composition and all the things that I've learned from him. But there's other things that people have talked about, his use of color, of course, his refined figures. He was a great portrait painter that other portrait painters have looked at. And of course, he was also one of these artists that was early on experimenting in his later years with some much looser brushstrokes than and brushwork than we ever would expect in that sort of time frame. So let's look now at some Titian and get to drawing. So we'll draw here in a minute. So okay. Ah, as I said, I want to focus on composition today. And I have a quote here from Jacques Villon. If anybody can pronounce French better than me, you can correct me, please do. But he is the brother of Marcel Duchamp. And he said this, which I thought was really great. It's the a part of the preface or introduction to Charles Boulot's The Painter's Secret Geometry. And he says the artistic chaos of these last years, when the absolute liberation and individual instinct has brought it to the point of frenzy, an attempt to identify the harmonic disciplines that have secretly in every period served as foundations for painting may well seem folly. Yet, the framework of art is its most secret and deepest poetry. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I started writing poetry in and amongst all of this, the clay and the embroidery too. So that statement kind of struck home to me. The deepest poetry is in that uh, construction and the framework of the art or its composition. So here's Titian. Yeah, who can pronounce his last name? Anyone good in Italian? Is it
Vicinio.
Vicelio?
I think so.
Vicelio.
Yeah,
Vicelio.
sounds good.
Enzano Vicelio. That's his family name. All right. A colleague of his was speaking, and he was a painter, an art theorist. Speaking of Titian, he was alive at the same time. The sun amidst all the small stars, not only among the Italians, but among all painters of the world. He thought highly of Titian, that he wasn't just one of the little stars, he was the sun.
Oh.
Titian was talented from the beginning. He, at a young age, went to work with Geniel Bellini, who only lived a couple of years, but he certainly introduced him to portraiture and that sort of this sort of working in a very traditional way. But he died very soon after, and he moved to his brother Giovanni's atelier, and there is where he was exposed to some really important use of color. And we see that in this piece right here. In fact, it's really bizarrely contemporary when we look at how those angels in the background of this painting are done in these mostly primary colors, monochromatically. It's really fascinating to look at how that was done. And then others of his influences was Giorgione, who has a long last name that we're not even a long name that we're not going to look at, but he was also a contemporary of Titian, but a little bit older. But he met him in the Bellini ateliers. And this was one of his paintings that he's more known for. And we can see this classical sort of sleeping Venus reclining nude that he used in this motif has been used and it may be improved upon by Titian. Um, I just want to show this portrait that he did because he influenced with this painting 100 and some years later, Rembrandt, who saw this painting in an auction, an art auction, and actually ended up knowing the person that bought it, so he could study this painting back in the Netherlands. But he claimed this painting here is what inspired his these two self-portraits. One being a painting and the other being an etching that which explains why it's reversed, because of the printing plate and that sort of process.
Do you think that etching was done with ink?
What's that?
Do you think the etching was done with ink?
Yes. Yes, it was done with ink. He scratched it into a copper plate, more than likely, and then filled the cracks with ink and then printed it. All right. Here there's a series of paintings that this is part of. If you do any research on Titian, you'll learn about his Diana series, and that was commissioned by Prince Philip of Spain, and he did those, and we're going to be looking at one specifically from that series. But this kind of started some things off, and I actually this one was before his famous Venus of Urbino, which you could see probably was a little bit after Giorgione, but this one particular Venus painting has influenced so many people throughout the years, and I just wanted to run through them, not all of them, but some of them, because even back in 1775, which is a little bit after that, we see this painting by Zofani, which I don't even know him really, but in this whole big painting, this gallery painting, which is a tribute to the Uffizi, we see that he there put the Venus of Urbino front and center in all of these other great pieces of art. This is kind of, in my opinion, the Where's Waldo of art history, quite honestly. But then another 100 years later, Manet is painting Olympia. Uh, a little bit later, Modigliani. We see that in Chicago, you'll see Max Beckmann's Reclining Nude. And of course, we've talked about this in other classes. Of course, Matisse's large reclining nude, the pink nude, is also a response to the Venus of Urbino. If we come a little bit closer to modern day, we see Willem de Kooning and his reclining nude that is not too far off from some of these other that are reminiscent of that. Of course, Pablo Picasso and who's lived in our lifetime, as well as Lucian Freud. Um, who also was a big Titian fan. There's another painting by Freud, but he said this: "How is it that these paintings, which are as effortless as Matisse, affect you more than any tragedy? Everything they contain is there for the viewer's pleasure. It hardly matters what's going on, the water, the dogs, the people, though they are involved with each other, are there to please us. To me, these are the most beautiful pictures in the world. And once you've seen them, you'll want to see them over and over again." And so that was Freud, his introduction to the Diana series, which we're going to get to very, very shortly. But this is a painting that influenced Freud as well. I did a little zoom in here on one of these sculptures to see that you can see that the brushwork in this in his later years was getting much looser and textured. And as we look at what Freud ended up doing in a lot of his paintings was just that way. There's lots of texture and sort of things, and that loose brushstroke gave him the permission to do a lot of the things that he did. One more Venus picture just for the hell of it. Titian's Venus with a Mirror also was a landmark painting that influenced one of the fleshier paintings in art history, Rubens, and his version of Venus in front of her mirror. Um, that's one thing that we respect about Titian is that he started giving a more fleshy, naturalistic sort of feel to his figures. And then, of course, Velázquez claims Titian's painting of Venus in front of the mirror as inspiration, and this for his Rokeby Venus, which is right there for us to enjoy. All right, couple of the paintings that were as an introduction to this composition thing that we're going to dive into from that Diana series are a couple here, and we can see that they're rich and they're filled with figures and lots of things going on and people interacting with each other in and amongst architecture and animals and the nature and uh, they're cacophonous in some ways, and it makes me ask those questions that I was referring to at the very beginning when we were talking about, how do I make sense of this? And so this is one, they're all paintings from mythology, from the writings of Ovid. And so here's another one, and each one has a story from mythology that, if I was really, really good and clever, I could tell you that, but I'm not going to. That's up to you guys. Okay, this is the painting we're going to look at. When I always enjoy a painting that features Bacchus because he is always kind of generally a fun-loving guy, and it's an interesting premise. And here we have Bacchus coming into town with his band of merrymakers, and they're all in party mode, as you can see. And here he is. He sees the fair maiden and is just completely overcome and is leaping out of his leopard-drawn chariot to make love to her. So basically, that's it. But there's still a lot going on, and it's like, how do I make sense of this sort of thing? And so, as I said, I feel like there's a science to beauty and to order, and so I have this this thing that some of you may have seen, and it's always interesting to me, so I bring it up again. But there's a way of dividing up these paintings that is mentioned in the Painter's Secret Geometry book and a few others, but I think it's worth revisiting here. And so it can be done very easily with, well, we'll just start. Here's the first one. Super simple. Diagonal lines. If we do that, all of a sudden, even with this X, we start to see that things line up and that there's already some order to this painting as we look at the angle of our main character's body and how it shoots across and it lines up with this fellow's lower leg. It just might not seem that important, but all of these things add up to drive us to a place of understanding and greater um, stability. You know, we see this helmet line up with this hand and this hand, and it goes through. So there's this first layer, and we can do this in our head. We can print out pictures and draw this on top of them, or we can get tracing paper or acetate and draw on those. But then we can build on this further. Now, when I first put this cross piece in here, this horizontal, I hadn't even like picked up on the fact that in all of this melange of bodies over here, that all of these shoulders line up. And all of a sudden, this wild party starts to make a little bit of sense and a little bit of order, and it's not quite as wild as it looks. As soon as I saw the diamond shape in here, for me, I'm just saying what I feel, the connection between Bacchus and I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. Aradne? I think it's Aradne.
Ariadne.
So whatever that is, all of a sudden, because they are connected within this triangle, wow, their eyes just connected for me. And did I need to have that on there to see that? Oh, probably not, but it sure solidified it, and it all of a sudden was like really powerful to me. I had a greater understanding. And then there's more lines that we can put in here, and they connect more and more things. Again, I'm going to leave a lot of this stuff up to you to study on afterwards because it can go on forever, and I want to get us drawing. And then if we connect those intersections, we can see here that this is mathematically, it lines up in some sort of math. Any photography book that you read that talks about composition, the first thing they're going to say is, oh, the rule of thirds is one way. And these intersections, we can find the thirds, and we see immediately that he put all of his interest, all of the heads, all of the ways they're looking in that middle third. Just for a starter, as far as organization, he's kind of right. But then there's also some very super symmetrical sort of divisions that we can see here that a lot of these figures and parts line up to that, but maybe they are not as important as the diagonals. And so, I mean, I'll send you this so you have a little idea of how you could do this yourself. But that's basically the schematic. All right, let's go here. I want to go back to this particular image here, and I want you to get out your sketchbooks, and thank you for bearing with so far. But I want us to take out our sketchbooks and our pencils, and I want us to take a few minutes, let's say until 4 o'clock, about 10, 15 minutes, to start drawing this to understand it. I've always said that drawing something will help you understand it more than anything. And yeah, we can use these divisions to understand and make connections and have some aha moments. But I think organically, we're going to learn as we draw here. I don't want you initially to worry about drawing things like the texture and the folds and the drapery or the leaves. I want us to, if you can figure out the shape of it, but let's just place them where they are. I want us to try and be as close as we can to this geometry. And so if you draw a rectangle on your paper that's roughly, a little bit wider than it is tall. It's not a square and it's not a really wide rectangle. So you can start making those decisions and divisions. If you want to be able to think about some of those divisions, you can use your pencil. Just hold it up in front of there and hold it about halfway and kind of see what does line up uh, top to bottom in the middle and what lines up halfway. These sort of things are great ways to always uh, figure out what you're drawing. If you're just drawing a single figure, if you're drawing a landscape, if you're drawing a still life, uh, we can figure out where it falls within this grid and see what of those lines we can use for it. But there's also things that I started to see as I thought about how you lay out a drawing, especially like whether it's a still life or drawing from this painting. You might see that tree, that big tall tree, is a very important part of this overall picture. And if you just draw down that trunk, what does it line? It lines up with that darker fellow, the bearded guy's head and his knee. I mean, he is just like a continuation of the tree. He's like as big as the tree, and we use that term to talk about a large person a lot of times. He's as big as a tree. Well, he's holding up the tree.
Covered in snakes.
Another thing, and so those are things that can help us divide up this picture plane and start placing those shapes. If we think of each one of the figures and the clouds and the trees as shapes, as elements, we can fit them together. And if we think about them that way, I think they're easier to kind of shift around and get in the right place. Whereas as soon as we start drawing too much detail in them at this point, they'll get locked in and stuck there. Maybe we'll need to shift them a little bit to try and replicate this and understand it. One thing that I want to say here is that this construction, and I think of it as construction, I think most compositional challenges as a building exercise. And whether you've built a house or not, no doubt you've seen a house being constructed. And if you paid much attention, and maybe from building things as a kid, that if you just try and build a square out of wood, it's not very stable. It will, if you put much weight on just a square, screw or nail 4 pieces of wood together that are all the same length, and you stand it up. Vis-a-vis, if you have a new stretcher bar and you set it, upright on the floor, and you slide the top over, it's just going to like turn into a diamond real quick. And it's not very stable by itself, not until you put the canvas on. But when you're building a house and you have all the walls up and they look really sturdy, but they're just verticals and horizontals. And I've seen this where a building like that with a little bit of wind will just blows down. And so carpenters, when they're building a building, will put in, they'll just nail them up there really quickly, angled 2x4s at a 45-degree angle to those verticals, and that locks them in position. It becomes very stable. And so when we start with just these things, it's not so stable. But as soon as you get to this level and you've put these little angled supports here that we see in this painting, also lines up and gives super structure to a lot of the elements in the painting. We understand, like the carpenters understand, so our house doesn't fall down before we put the siding and the interior walls up. We need to have some things to hold this support so it's rock solid. And when we have free form objects such as Bacchus leaping out of his chariot we can see he's kind of going fast. His cape is just flapping in the wind, that you can put something that's really free form right in the middle of the painting, and it doesn't feel like he's going to fall over. It doesn't feel like the painting's going to like lose its structure, because that's built in so strongly. So he could be doing anything. Bacchus could be upside down doing a flip for that matter, and we might laugh at it a little bit, but at the same time, it would hold its structural integrity. Now that I've stopped talking for a second, feel free to just like, if you make an observation here, this is a good time to like just say it. If you see something that lines up or it's interesting to you, the way Titian juxtaposed anything in this as you draw it, speak it, because it might be interesting for if it's interesting to you, it's probably interesting to all of us, and we're here to learn. So
Would you put the lines back up for a couple of seconds?
yeah, all of them ones.
All of them, yes, just hold it there for a second.
Yeah, there you go.
I am, yeah,
So
fascinated.
Royce,
Yes.
Yes.
the as far as perspective goes, the center horizontal line that's in the middle, you will notice that, like you pointed out, the dark guy, his eyes, which are right on that line.
Yep.
So he's a little bit closer to us, but everybody else is a little bit going up a hill. That's
Yep.
why their heads are above.
Yep.
And then there's a trail that goes off to the right-hand side where the people are actually going up. So he's kind of giving you an illusion of that there's a road here, or maybe a road also going up. So, I mean, that's the linear perspective that you're talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Whereas in medieval times, everything was very much set. The perspective that they were using was much more like Walt Disney used in his animation, where he had layers of cells of flat, almost like a theater set where there's the flats that have the trees on them. There's another flat that has water painted on it or the sky, and it appears to be much more depth. But you're right. He's giving us that within this. Thank you, Steve, for.
Yep.
Why is he covered in snakes?
Oh, because what the character that he is that's he's always got snakes, and this guy is no,
Love
he um I get all those guys mixed up between Greek and Roman mythology, and they're a lot of the same stories, just different names and that sort of thing. But he was battling Oh, again, if this was a mythology class, I could tell you, but all I know is that when you see this guy wrapped in snakes, you know it's a certain guy.
Yeah.
He's not having a good day. Or does he like the snakes?
Doesn't look like it.
He doesn't look like he likes it, but
Well, we have what's her name? Medusa, but that's not related at all, I don't think.
Well, there's Laocoon, but I didn't think that's him.
well, thank you for saying that word. Yeah, yeah. We
I
can,
don't, I'm not familiar with the snake guy.
okay, well,
I'll look him up.
okay, you look him up and report back to us.
Okay. Snakes. Hmm.
And I mean, as far as the story goes, the storyline, every one of those little things is related to the story, except this little spaniel right here, who was the dog of I don't think I have him in here anymore. I can't think of his name. The guy, this was a duke or something, some muckety muck in and around Venice that commissioned this. I know, or what's it no, sorry. This is part of the Diana series, and so anyway, then it'd be Prince Philip's dog made an appearance. And that's pretty typical in a lot of these sort of stories. The one that commissioned the painting often makes a cameo appearance in the crowd, or the artist makes an appearance in the crowd, or there's a tip of the hat to the person that commissioned the painting. Um, and there was some historical reference to these leopards because the actual the actual poem has tigers, and as it turns out, when you start digging into that history of what was available, obviously Titian didn't have Google or Pinterest to look up and see what a tiger looks like. And but there was some rich guy, not one of the Medicis, but there were a lot of uh what did they call it? What Italy was a what kind of a state?
City
City states. A country made of city states. There wasn't one. Italy wasn't really known as Italy at that point, but we had these city states, and uh, the the ruler that Titian had access to, as many of these people did, had menageries of exotic animals, and he was able to actually go observe leopards, and so that's why there's leopards and not tigers. That was his own uh, choice out of the reality that he didn't know exactly what a tiger looked like. It's fun to think about and learn what artists had to do to like figure some of that stuff out. And we have such a vast library of images that we can learn from now, and they didn't have those then. And so, as I was saying, that we're not going to hopefully not worrying too much about super details here. And even if you like make these figures as almost just blobs, you can kind of start to see how if you were a an abstract expressionist like de Kooning, uh, you could you can use this way of thinking to compose a completely abstract painting that's non-representational, that has nothing that looks like a person or dog or a tree even, um, and take those shapes and arrange them. I haven't found too much, and I haven't read too much about from other researchers that have talked about this sort of way of dividing up a painting to understand its composition. I haven't read too much that showed that any artists actually drew those lines on their canvas or their panel before that. Maybe some on their drawings, but it's been my sort of personal idea that as we uh, think about the geometric ways of like looking at a painting, or we've all seen the geometric uh, divisions of a face, when you go to learn a face, how, you know, line through the forehead, down the nose, through the middle of the mouth and the chin. And then we divide that in half and we have where the eyes are and all this sort of thing. If you draw a portrait to those uh, conventions, it is going to look a little bit more like a police, crime sketch, um, based on somebody's bad description. And they're going to look a little stiff. And I think anytime we draw to a grid or a convention like that, we we run the risk of being a slave to it and being making a rather stiff drawing or painting. And so my contention is that while these mathematical devices, such as geometry, work to help us understand them and actually prove that these artists were correct, I still think that we have as artists an internal sensibility, a design sense that allows us to very often lay things. Maybe they're not appealing, but they will be consistent within us. The way I divide up a picture plane, I find that when I look at work that I did 30 years ago, I was dividing it up very similarly. I wasn't like changing my proportion. I haven't changed my proportions that much. And I don't know that I've had to because the way and the subject that I was working in 30 years ago may be wildly different. But, where I've divided it, I find if I have a horizontal division somewhere in a forest or in a group of people, whatever it is, I might, and then I draw or do a painting of the lake. But very often I will choose to put that horizon in the same place. I just like to divide things up in a certain way, and maybe it's good and maybe it's bad. Maybe people like it and maybe people don't, but it's just the way I do it. And I think that the artists that have come before that we look at and continue to look at and come back to again, and we go to museums to see their work because it's wonderful, uh, are just really, really good at dividing up the picture plane and designing these compositions so that we continue to be fascinated 500 years later by their work.
Bryce,
Yes.
is that a wolf head down at the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is a wolf's head. That's another part
Yeah.
of the story. Sorry, I kind of read some of that at the very beginning of my research for this and promptly forgot it.
That's bizarre.
But it is bizarre.
Part of the story, though.
It is part of the story, and when you ever read the stories of these, uh, you know, mythology has certain conventions, and then um, there's people that were riffing on it even back then. Ovid was riffing on it. He was maybe one of the first uh, writers of fan fiction, if you will, you know? And so we everybody knows about, well, maybe you don't know about fan fiction. I don't know that much about it, but I know that there's lots of people out there like writing today parallel stories and parallel universes using all the Star Wars characters. And they're writing new things and like, what if Princess Leia, you know, married Jar Jar Binks, you know, or whatever, and what would happen? And so in Ovid's writings, I think he definitely took the liberty to put two different gods and have them meet and tell the story. And so over the years, and that was his tale was long before Titian. Um, there's plenty of opportunities to like make new versions of old mythology, and the gods will still have their same powers, but as people wrote about them and painted about them, they would uh, let's let's have Bacchus meet Mona Lisa or something, and what would happen? What would happen then? But usually, when we have these characters, usually all of the accoutrement that comes with them, whether it's a guy with a snake or a severed wolf's head, um, we find those things in those stories. So, how are we doing? Let's take a minute here and just kind of sh show me what you're drawing, and then tell me what's grabbed you about it. What have you figured out, learned, or otherwise dismayed about? So I'm gonna stop that and just like, let's see. I wonder if we can, we just put it on gallery view, if it's big enough that you can see what everybody shows. If not, I will spotlight everybody, but in lieu of time, okay, Agnes, you might need to take your blurry background off in order to, what's
I
that?
don't think she heard you.
Oh, my spotlight's on, so I need to unspotlight me. Okay, hold on, let me stop that. Remove spotlight. Okay. Yeah, Agnes, your setting is on blurry background or something, and so it makes it, maybe if we don't see your face, we put it in front of. Okay, Steve.
Oh,
Very nice. I'm just gonna go around and spotlight then. Steve, that's really
That's
cool. Is there
nice.
anything that became more apparent to you as you were like laying this out?
No, pretty much. I mean, as I pointed out, the perspective, eye level going uphill,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the dark guy, he's the foreground. Everybody else then is a little bit smaller
Mm-hmm.
as you go back. Bacchus, who is jumping out of the wagon, he's up higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's just it is when you point out all these lines and everything, you're amazed at, you know, did they really put lines across there and paint them out or erase them, or it just They had great compositional skills back then. That's why they're who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And when we look at this drawing, just as you're drawing, we can see this connection here through the dark guy's leg. I mean, it's almost we can feel the energy continuing through Bacchus at the same angle. And so that's just like super powerful. Yeah, thank you.
Very nice.
Sarah, let's look at we'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll just go through and spotlight
Quickly.
people. I think it's really the best way to see everybody's work.
My arm was getting tired.
Oh, sorry.
You're on mute, Sarah.
Sarah's on.
Mute. Oh, wow.
Well, lift it
Still
up
on
just a
mute.
little bit. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Any comments, Sarah, on your drawing so far? I think you're muted.
Still muted.
Still muted. We could.
Okay,
Oh, there you are. Okay, good.
Yep. My computer is, anyway, I started noticing all these little little, I don't, little half circles and I don't know.
Well, that's something again, this is another layer that we can peel back. And a lot of time, are there other shapes that he's repeating? Do leaves sometimes match the shape of a heads on another part of it? And that's this like back and forth sort of a compositional idea.
And yeah, I noticed just the movement, just pulling that one way,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the movements.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see again, we see that main push. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Darcy?
I was just noticing all the heads and how they all kind of make a diamond.
Oh, look at this from there to there to there. Yeah,
Wow.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not the best
yeah,
drawing, but
which is very cool because you know there's no doubt that faces, uh, heads are like arrows in a composition. It's just like look at me, look at me, look at me, and so they're really strong markers. And as you mentioned that, it's really cool to see. It would be fun to do just a diagram of the head placement in this whole Diana series. What shapes do the heads make if you just studied that?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was a nice comment. Sandy. Well, these are great drawings, you guys. Really
Yeah.
good drawings.
Nice. Thank you. What I noticed is, where is it?
Yeah, it's really hard to see when you're
Yeah,
trying to
there we
point at it in the reflection.
doing this, and it goes, they all kind of go, this is more of an angle. Okay, this goes like this, and his back leg goes like this.
Yep.
So there's all these angles to the limbs that I was looking at.
Right. I mean, look at that.
it-
That's just like that goes back to this super symmetrical
Yeah,
division, right? It's just
Yep.
like, and we all heard from the very first composition class or art history class you took. They talked about a triangle being the strongest sort of thing. So that's
and
just
then
something.
the horizontals are like strange in the middle of it. It's like really takes your attention to other
Mhm.
areas. The
Right.
top part anyway. I don't know.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Lucy,
Um, Okay.
oh, there we go.
I just, I just realized everything you said. I didn't discover anything new, but having the action, the faces and everything right here in this middle
In that
third.
middle band, yes.
Yeah. And then I found the horizon different from Sandy.
Okay.
It was a straight line to me.
Yeah, I did that wrong.
Okay. All
I was
right.
like
It
holding
is a
it up.
straight line. You
Yeah,
know,
it is.
Titian wasn't pulling a Saison on us and had the back of that table. The back of the table lines up on this one.
And then the other thing was, we didn't talk about the emphasis of different colors, so.
Not yet. We
Not
haven't.
yet. Okay.
But certainly as you look at that diagram, you can see that there's different neighborhoods of color. For sure. Okay, Agnes, sorry, we looped around, now we're coming back to you.
Yeah. Okay, so I love, I don't know if you can see this way,
Probably an hour and a half.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's better.
This is better?
Yep.
did it help when it looks like you really, you asked to have the grid put up again, that you just kind of drew it really quickly there. Did that
Yes.
help to have
The
that grid
grid
to
really
drop you
helped me to see the angles on
Uh-huh.
the whole composition with yes, it really did help. And where I placed everything, yes.
Uh-huh.
The design
Okay.
of, yeah.
Again, I mean, as we think about how the old masters, or a lot even today, people transfer drawings, you're drawing to a larger canvas or panel to paint, we'll use a grid, and it doesn't matter if the grid squares or whatever, just so it's reproducible, and we can understand the relationships much better. And so did I get everybody except Angela? Here is Angela. There we go. Hi.
Hi. She did a finished
Wow.
drawing.
Whoa.
Oh, she had all that time while we were talking.
She did.
Right,
She
right,
did take the
right.
time.
So I really noticed the dark and light.
Yeah.
Like Sarah, I noticed like this and this, all these kind of circular
Yes.
things, like the lady's pulling whatever she was holding against that tree was so cool. And this lady was holding up that plate or something. I don't know.
It's funny. It's one of those, that was one of the shapes that,
Where's the
there's-
wolf head? Thank you for showing the wolf head, Sandy. I missed it. Oh, there it is. I think he's kind of stepping on. Oh, and also the way that like this guy and this guy's arm connected, that power, and then all their feet connect over here. I was like, whoa.
yeah.
It'd be a great puzzle to work.
Yeah. There you go.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Uh-oh. On the hunt for Titian puzzles.
I know, it'd be good. It'd be good. Oh, and the stars. There's a constellation in the sky.
My God.
Some
Yes,
crown or something.
It is a
Whatever
crown,
that
and
is.
it's,
Whoever knows
God, I wish I could
constellations.
remember it. It's her crown. He gives her the crown, and when he captures her or makes love to her, and the crown.
She gets that crown.
Yeah, something like that. So,
That's something else.
very cool. Why am I hearing an echo? Go
Because you're
ahead.
still
But
spotlighted.
you guys are together.
Oh, wait, my audio.
There. I'm still spotlighted.
Okay, sorry. I don't know why you're still spotlight, because I pushed the wrong button and hold on. Sorry, I have to find my Zoom again. I just lost it.
Why is that? Why are you
Oh, there it
hiding?
is. No, sorry, I'm back. Okay, we can unspotlight.
I could have
done that Angela.
Steve Freeze thing. I didn't think of it.
Okay, let's go back to our screen. Okay. I have for you another Titian painting, which is it's also a challenging one, just because we don't often see uh, this elongated sort of thing stretches it out. And so we're not working from a square. And so quite honestly, if you were to diagram this, you might diagram it as, start by diagramming it as three squares, you know, and when we look at some other things, the drawing that or the painting that I want to send home with you today to draw, there's even circles that we can build into the geometry that can just go on forever and ever and ever. So anyway, this is a painting that might seem symmetrical or might seem not, but there's that we have the figures that are doing one thing, that sarcophagus that is doing another thing, and then like Angela just mentioned, she like focused on the lights and the darks. And behind them, we have these ribbons of extreme darkness and other lighter forms that are running through it as well, that seem to run counter to that sort of like upright and horizontal composition of the figures and what they're sitting on. And so this one, I would like us to get out our color, because I think color is going to play a huge part compositionally into this painting or our drawing, as we think about what connects some of these colors between the figures and behind the figures and what's connected. And so I want us to use color to help us with those divisions, and I think we will find some interesting connections. So let's start very much the same way. I do not have a grid such as this to do that. So you're going to have to uh, imagine what it is. But I think if you can kind of guess our halfway points here and see what's on the horizontal and vertical axis. And again, if hold your pencil up in front of your screen at an angle from this corner to that corner and see what falls on that, if this is interesting to you. To me, that's very interesting how her shoulder lines up with the cross of her legs. And that's just 2 points along that line. And if you go from this one, what do you find? And so that might help you in how you lay this out. I feel confident that you guys all can uh, lay this drawing out and see where the shapes are after seeing those fabulous drawings of yours. But this sort of way of it's a way that I think everybody, non-artists alike, if they understood this idea of how we can overlay this grid over this, that we might be able to appreciate art a lot more. It's another way to look at it, to look at a painting. So this painting, again, wasn't one of the absolute later paintings. It was kind of an earlier painting for him. And the title, Sacred and Profane Love, there's probably a 99% chance that Titian did not title it that like so many paintings that we have titles for now, they came to us from art critics and historians that came long before us, as they described it, and ended up through those descriptions ending up sort of like posthumously naming a lot of these paintings, and a lot of them are named in a very sort of clinical sort of way, like nude reclining on a blue pillow or something. It's just basically describing the painting, and it's probably not at all what the artist had named them. If I, let's see if I can do this. If I do this, will it come up in front of, do you see that?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'll make it so you don't see that because I wanted to do another little thing here while you're working that may just be fun as can be. I'm gonna slide that. Sorry. It's okay. Sorry about that. Wish I had. Okay, so it's really as I was talking about the advances in art and science and technology, um, all of these things are there were huge advances in the Renaissance, and because of that, we can understand why in academia they refer to the arts and the sciences because they are so related. And when we look prior to the Renaissance, um, things were somehow simpler. We made reference to the flatness of a lot of the artwork and how it was composed compared to Renaissance paintings where this linear perspective was employed. Music was a lot the same way, and a lot of these sort of divisions of our visual art is came about because of the divisions in music. The organization of music went hand in hand with uh, this idea of how picture planes were developed. And so I like the more flat sort of compositions that we saw in um, medieval paintings. When we think about the music that we heard, well, we didn't hear it, but we know about it from medieval times. Here's an example of what we might have heard on top 40 radio in the 12 or 1300s. Can you hear this?
No,
Oh, shoot. Maybe I can't do it without. I can't do it without
I hear a little bit.
you can.
Well, not really.
I'll share it with you afterwards. But they were much more mono not monochromatic. What is it when you're talking about monophonic or something? Atonal sort of things. But once we get into the Renaissance, we start having these much more complicated melodies that have multiple melodies running at the same time. And it's just so related to the complexity that we see happening in these paintings. I'll share two pieces with you that you can compare and contrast, or when we take a break and look at what's happening here in your drawings, we can listen to that while we're doing that. But and so you guys, in your infinite wisdom and miraculous abilities, can do these however you see fit. If once you kind of figure out some of the divisions here and where things go, you might want to start adding color sooner rather than later, but that's up to you. Ask here. Steve, I just now got your message that said just waiting for them to bring the car around. Sorry for it's just it just came through now. It's like, what the heck?
Well, I'm glad it arrived.
It did. Um,
Check on the right box. She's got the temple. She's got the big spire.
the one on the right.
She's definitely steeple.
The profane one is on the side of the steeple, right? And the sacred one is on the side of the castle.
Rabbits. Those two rabbits?
Yeah, they're rabbits off of her elbow. Yeah.
Crazy.
Rabbits.
There's two little rabbits.
Oh,
Over
yeah, I
here.
see them. Tiny rabbits.
Funny web.
Little rabbits. Like
Is that a
wide,
dog
tiny
behind
rabbits.
them?
Wide, tiny rabbits.
Everything means something.
Everybody means something.
This would be a fun puzzle too.
1,000 pieces.
It is a great way to study a painting.
I know. I'm doing one right now.
Well, apparently there is a way to play the sound and share the screen at the same time, but I'm not gonna screw things up for that right now. Who knows what would happen? Everyone could freak out, and that's
Mhm. We might
bad.
I don't think we'll.
When everyone freaks out.
Yep.
You all have an advantage. I'm not used to drawing figures.
Well,
We are
Agnes,
doing figure
Agnes, you
drawing
could
every week.
You could join us on Thursday and you'll be get right
I'm
up to
not used to
speed.
drawing figures at all. Yeah.
Well, I have a philosophy about that, as you may well guess, Agnes. Just like studying uh these paintings for composite to learn composition, to do things in a new way could help an abstract painter or a still life painter, even though there's lots of action in many of these. They're far from a still life, perhaps. Uh, there's the principles are true across the board, and there's no better way, in my opinion, to understand proportion and relationships um, than to draw the figure. There's something that we all innately kind of know, and that's what makes drawing figures kind of hard sometimes because we draw what we think we know, and as we spend more and more time drawing the figure, uh, as we see it, we understand those proportions because I really kind of also believe that the human figure is like the perfect composition. And the other thing is that we all know when it's wrong. Even if you don't know how to draw, a person that doesn't know how to draw at all can look at a drawing of a human and if it's wrong, they can tell you just what's wrong with, oh, those arms are way too short, or the head's too big, or something. They can analyze it and figure it out. And so we can do that too when we look at our drawings. And as we start to massage things into shape over time, we understand that more. And so, and maybe our that sensibility, that thing that I talked about at the beginning of proportion, um, and design that we're drawn to as humans, um, maybe that want for order and organization comes from the stuff that we are so familiar with and we don't expect it to change. And human form is something that we see all the time. And it and I remember it's still sometimes it's shocking if you see somebody that's missing a part of their body. Sometimes it's a little jarring. Uh, just because we expect there to be two legs or we expect there to be two eyes and there's not. And and so when things don't match up with this sort of expectation, we can be thrown off just a little bit. And as we think about what we want to present and how we want to tell the joke, how we want to tell the story, um, maybe it's about, maybe the story we want to tell is about anxiety or uh, being uncomfortable or something other than just plain old comfort and enjoyment. Maybe we want to tell something that's a little bit uncomfortable. And so by portraying uh, some part of it in a way that is not expected, that maybe isn't balanced, that is one way to inject that. I think that Cezanne was really good at injecting tension into a still life by not lining the backside of the table up by having the bowl of fruit look like the fruit can't possibly stay in that bowl. All of these things just like make some of his still lifes so exciting because they seem like they could just fall over. Uh, does that it's really it's kind of fun to look at some of those sort of things within this grid of compositional analyzation and see if they line up. And if the reason we can put up with those bowls of fruit that look like they're spilling is because they fit within that structure of diagonals and alignments and those sort of things. If they do that, then that might answer a lot of questions. But us, like all of the rest of the general public, when we see a painting we've never seen before, uh, we have a specific reaction to it. Whether we feel good about it or uncomfortable or we don't care. Or we really like it. What I find in this situation is where is everybody had their own way of drawing that initial Bacchus painting that we looked at, but we all kind of I was impressed how true to that composition and the figures that you were. I think when we start adding color and we have the permission to start painting, that it makes these, even if everyone's super accurate with this compositional layout, which I kind of want you to be a little bit more surgically accurate in this class because I want us to like try and figure out what make these work. But whenever we add paint to these, it like turns them into a much more personal expression. And so I always enjoy seeing the colorized version of these sort of thing. Color's an option, by the way, for those of you that might have forgotten about color.
I thought we were painting.
What's
Yeah,
that?
some of us weren't paying attention.
Some of us, somebody might not have paid attention to that
Oh,
prompt.
I'm with them.
Carried away.
You know, that's a good sign. Angela just said, I got carried away. If we get carried away in what we're drawing, it's to me, it's the ultimate goal, regardless of what the drawing looks like. If you're carried away for 20 minutes or a half hour into a place where you don't hear what else is going on in the room, you've like reached some level of nirvana, in my opinion. It's like that. So that's good. I'm glad to know that you hit nirvana down there
Yeah.
the other day.
Whoops. Well, good thing to get color on.
Wait, what? Were you talking to me?
That kind of thing. Got it.
Oh,
Royce, what is that little thing down below the lady in white? It looks like red. Is it her shoe? That's not faced the right way.
Right
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Weird looking, isn't it?
can't tell.
It is weird looking. I don't know. It might be a shoe. It could be her shoe. I would say it's the foot to her toes or something. And if she has a red sandal or something on, but it's definitely, the foot is connected
I've been.
to this knee.
Foot is connected to the,
That's right. The foot bone's connected to the leg bone. It's connected to the knee bone.
Mhm.
Lights and darkness is just crazy interesting.
It is very interesting, and it's much more pronounced, I think, than the first piece we are looking at.
What
I
is?
really appreciate the vertical nature, even though they're both leaning in towards each other of the figures. And that sarcophagus, which is so like, again, structural, but then all of the landscape in this one particularly is panoramic. And so the sky runs behind both figures, whereas in the Bacchus piece, we just kind of like in the upper left corner, we really is about the only place we saw, or that quadrant is about the only place we saw sky and water and much blue. All the rest was more earth tones that were, you know, coming from the merrymakers that were making their way out of the woods. I think I've done this before. I can't remember. This is just me thinking, talking to myself out loud more than anything, but if if I do it right, it will affect you if you in fact do listen to this again or play it later, is that I will go in and like, well, I don't want to take out all of the dead air between these because there's some things we're talking about, but I can try and I can edit it down a little bit and cut some of this stuff out so that, or I guess I'll just leave it because like for Maria, if she is, when she's watching this, she will have the same amount of time to draw this piece. So I will, as we're getting to close to 10 till, I'm going to want to look at what we've been working on, but I'll tell you that I will send you this piece and the Bacchus piece just for your own reference. And I have another Titian painting that I want you to kind of analyze this next week. And then I'll tell you what our kind of homework is. And again, homework's optional, but it's always kind of fun. It should be. And hopefully through the homework assignments, will help each of us kind of like develop a little bit, maybe help us in our own practice, either to develop more habits to draw and paint regularly, or to give us a jumping on place to create a new body or series of work. So in like 2 minutes, I want to stop and look at everybody's work. And if you want to keep working on it later, please do. The other thing that like in the past, what I'd love to do is, and you can just, I think the easiest way will be just to reply to the email that I send you that has these images in it, is to reply and anything that you want to share and show next week, just send me the picture of it and I will include it on the front side of this and we will kind of we'll all be able to look at it a little bit more clearly and learn from that as well before we jump into next week's lesson. So curious to see what we're there was a in my researching this business, I found I'll have to maybe I'll show it for next week or something. I think his name's John. I want to say John Fordham. He did a whole series of paintings of scenes from the movie The Big Lebowski. They're large scale paintings, and each one of them are not each one of them, but a lot of them were named after and based on Titian paintings.
Oh.
And so he did this one, the sacred and the profane, and it was the scene, if you've seen the movie, in Maud's studio, the Juliana Moore character, her art studio, and she's dressed in some green capey sort of thing, and her arm, or she's standing right next to a mannequin, a nude mannequin form. Uh, and that was the sacred and the profane. It's just interesting to see how there, there very well may be in some cases some homages in pop culture, in filmography, uh, that also make connections to and tips of the hat to famous painters. But some of them are just like, I think he's kind of more being kind of a DJ in just taking the essence of this and the essence of this imagery and mashing them together to make a new remix, which is kind of fun. So let's stop the sharing here and look at some artwork, see what's going on. And again, we don't feel like if you want to finish this, that you can't continue on, because I will send you this and you have the abilities to do that. Let's start with you, Agnes. I'll try and go almost around backwards, but I might not hit the same order. You're muted, but we will
Oh, God.
okay.
I don't know what to do. This
No,
is,
you did it.
don't know. I'm not good at this. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm just,
no, there's
No, you did
no,
fine.
there's no
I
need
am
there's no
horrible.
apologizing.
Why is it going all direction here? I
No.
am, yes,
I don't think you are going the wrong direction, because I think, again, what we are drawn to, what grabs our attention first in whether it's in a painting or whether it's in a landscape or a still life, you probably know this, Agnes, from drawing your cut flowers, that there's probably one flower or one part of it, one contrast that you focus on, and you put a lot more attention on that blossom than another one. And this is a really cool example to see what grabbed you about this composition and what you chose to include in this short period of time. And you can start to see the relationship between those. And I think that's just what I was saying about that dude that was like painting the Big Lebowski paintings of this. It's just like, wow, I see the connection. I want to like represent this. I'm going to riff on this. I'm going to make a series of paintings based on just the two main characters or three main characters of Titian paintings. And I think there's lots of possibilities there. It just cracks open the idea mill. So
I need to practice a little more.
yeah, no, that please do not feel like insufficient because of whatever drawing the figure or whatever.
I haven't drawn figures for I can't even remember when.
Okay, well, until today. There you go. Okay, Sarah, what's happening?
Okay.
Oh, she
Okay,
already.
you got-
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful drawing.
Lovely.
Very nice.
Thank you. So it was really fun.
The
I
red.
like how your colors are almost like just like little notes. I'll just scribble a swatch on here, you know? It's really,
I love the painting.
is there anything that grabbed you that like you observed, learned, liked, disliked?
I like the dark, like the water in the middle where the little baby is putting his hand or whatever it is.
Oh, right.
The
Okay.
water, just that dark horizontal. I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
It is definitely a focal point. It's like the one thing that's happening between the two are sacred and profane characters. We have Cupid or whoever that is in there dividing the space or having some action there. So
So yeah, connects them together. I
yeah,
think.
yeah. And it also divides, interrupts that like really straight line that would be between them because it's already super structural with that stone sarcophagus sort of thing. Okay, Lucy.
Okay.
She was checking to see
Oh,
if she had
yeah.
her hat on.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you keep going over here, there'll be that black lake.
Yes, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's really
So we haven't gotten
important.
there yet.
But again, just the way you have the figure on the right that's holding her arm up, holding that vessel of whatever that is.
Incense, I
I think it's an
incense. Yeah, it's like
incense.
incense. Yeah. And so that just like when we see that, holy moly, it's just really cool how that connects to the other figure's knees. And if you drew a diagonal across that from corner to corner,
Oh, yeah.
lower left to upper right,
Yeah.
in the painting, they would probably be like on the same axis. And that's it, the way it's reaching out there on that figure's hand is like really visible here. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll be curious to see how this plays out as you finish that. Okay, let's go to Angela.
Oh,
Nice red.
yeah.
Agnes, I drew the same thing you drew.
Oh, yeah.
That figure, I saw it too.
Is that colored pencil that you use?
No, I just used pencil and then I just used a
Is
little
that
bit
a
of
red?
crayon.
Red is the pencil?
Oh no, the red is a crayon.
Oh, crayon, okay.
It's really scribbly, see?
Very
But like Lucy,
Oh,
like,
nice, though.
that's so
I think
interesting
that,
that those two red things that I thought that maybe the bowl thing was right in the middle because it kind of lined up with the dot on my computer.
Uh-huh.
The center.
It's a good way to know.
I
That-
guess they're gesture
Huh.
that, because I thought maybe this person was more
He is.
with her.
He definitely shifted to her side. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
his hand is kind of the middle, right to the.
Drew the bunnies. Oh, my
I
color
didn't see the bunny.
bunnies.
Darn it.
They were there. They're under there. See them?
But there we can see
I
again,
really
like,
it was really fun to draw. I agree, Sarah. It was really interesting.
Isn't it cool?
The blacks on both sides, like they're pushing in like a stage curtain or something.
yeah,
And this too,
Yeah.
it's such a cool shape.
yeah. And that, yes, that negative space around her shoulder that the trees form. But
Yeah.
again, just that simple sort of red on one red cape, red sleeve. It's like boom, boom.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Some weird way.
Yeah, that circular
I really like
motion.
Okay, Steve.
Well,
Steve's
my
worn out.
proportions got a little crazy here.
Well, let's see what happened.
That was hard.
So
Oh.
I like what you did. That's an Archie move.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Arch would do that. But it's okay. Sometimes we do need bigger paper.
I didn't
Well,
see that.
Nice.
Very cool.
Oh my
What's your takeaway thus far, Steve?
they're sisters, and the little one is is somebody's son. They all seem to have the same hair.
Yeah,
True.
that was.
I don't know if the hot father is they're sitting on him in the sarcophagus or what.
Woo!
Well,
Yeah.
see again, that I love the narrative that you've implied to this, so that's good.
But it looks like they come from wealth because they're dressed really nice. They
Yeah.
got their castle in the background. The peasants are down there tending the sheep and what have you. Got a couple horseback riders by the pond. The city's off in the distance.
With the castle.
Yeah, the
Right.
cat.
Yeah, sort of a castle.
Yeah, you certainly get the impression that they live in the castle.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Well, the good girl does.
She does not have her dress
The
on.
good girl.
She does not have her dress on.
No, only the good girl lives in the castle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. The fair princess. All right.
Yeah, the other girl was over that dark lake.
Yes.
Maybe she just took a bath.
That's
Maybe.
right. Maybe she just took a bath. Okay, Sandy.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Those boobs.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah, very
Look at the
nice.
boobs. I like the
I
boobs.
know.
You did.
No.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Well,
Uh-huh.
Wow.
she not wearing
Yeah.
any clothes, but
That's
Really, it's the fun one, and you're painting.
Very
the
cool.
fun.
What?
Woo!
It's oil pastel.
Oh,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It has such a good composition. I mean, yeah, it's a lot like the Titian, but I don't know. It's amazing.
Okay.
You mean I got it in there and I didn't have to add paper?
You did it. Yeah. Lucy, did we? I'm having a moment. I showed you already. Yes, I did you.
Yeah.
I changed the order of where everybody is, so it threw me off. So I think what's left is Darcy.
Yeah.
Darcy is
Missing.
Oh wow.
Wow,
Oh,
okay.
see?
beautiful. Gosh, you're such a great painter. But this is like
The
every
circle.
one of these where the color starts coming in, there's like this like personal expression of how you handled this. So what's your takeaway so far?
It's just circular. The colors are so solid. I mean, they're just masses of color.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's not like he was hesitant about anything. I'm just gonna throw a dark one in here and a dark one in here and a dark one in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's fabulous. And
Mhm.
as we see it in these in between stages, that circle, I think is especially like in Angela's where there was more red, that circle becomes really apparent, doesn't it? Because their heads kind of continue the top part of that to
Mhm.
connect there's so much of these sort of geometric shapes that are invisible lines. Sometimes all the heads line up in a circle or whatever, and we go, oh, there's a circle there. But a lot of things continue on, and half of circles maybe are invisible, and they're only there because two people are looking at each other, and our brains connect that line that their eyes are looking at. So
Yeah.
this is really cool.
Well, thanks.
Okay, so this will be one that it would be fun to see completed ones. Should you decide to complete these, but I will send you this picture, the Bacchus one, and I'm going to send you another one that's a complete surprise. A very complex composition of his that I would like you to kind of figure out how you might diagram it. And
We don't get to see it right now.
do you want to see it? I'll show it you right now. I will show you. Okay, I will show you.
Sneak peek.
Because I also want to do one thing. I guess then I know it's time to go, and I want to make sure that okay, this one.
Oh,
Oh.
well, there's a lot of red in there too, so that'll
There's
be
a
fun.
lot of red, there's a lot of motion, there's a
Big X,
circle that
a
is the
square.
top, but I mean, just figure it out however you would like to. That's the mathematical part that I want to give you. What I would like you to do is the other homework assignment that I would like you to do, other than finish what you were just working on, is a piece. Think about a piece that you want to do for yourself that maybe is part of a series that you're working on now, whatever. I would like you to think about this sort of structure as you like work out the next version of it, or maybe look at something you just completed and see how it might fit in this sort of mathematical geometric structure that I've been talking about. And maybe just like start a new one. So Angela, your waves are these big color field things, but is there motion? Are there intersections? Are there contours that fit in these sort of things?
There should be.
There should be. And so I would like you to no matter how grandiose or small that they are, take a piece, an idea that you want to do, work it up, and then see how it fits into that. Whether you draw on that drawing or put a piece of tracing paper on it and see how it fits. But I would like to see what you're thinking in your own head about your own still life or abstractions or portraits or whatever that you might want to work on, how that fits into that. Okay. I'll type that up and I will send it to you in an email. So that's a lot to remember. But I know that we're in the middle of the day. Oh, not really. The latter part of the middle of the day, and that people still have things to do, and I don't want to keep you beyond that. And so I am going to say thank you. This was really great start and opener to this new adventure. And I will send you that and the video, and you'll know what's going on. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
you.
And again,
Good.
if
See
you
you next
have, as always, if you have any questions during the week, comments, whatever, feel free. Always email me. You'll never be bothering me. Okay. Thank you
Royce.
so much. Have a
Thank you.
great
Thank you.
afternoon and evening. Okay.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Royce.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep.